Welcome back to my workshop. Now today I've actually bought something that I'm going to assemble rather than actually make it from scratch. Now you've obviously seen the thumbnail already, hopefully, and what it is a cat tree. Now the reason I bought this was because obviously one, we've just got two new little kittens that are destroying the house, so we need somewhere for them to go. And also the second thing which I want to find out is it cheaper to buy this sort of thing or make it? Now, obviously there's a process for making it, which is enjoyable, and that's the sort of thing I would normally do. But just out of interest, I want to know whether or not it's cheaper to buy it. Okay, it will obviously be quicker, but is it going to be as much fun? I don't know, let's find out. So obviously the first thing you want to know is what is it? Well, it's a cat tree, okay, by Requena, I think that's how you say it. I purchased this from Amazon, all with my own money, so there's no sponsorships or say nice things about it. This is all just for me, for my cats. Okay, and what it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tier cat tree. Okay, somehow I've got to fit this into my living room. So let's get it out of the box and see what we get in it and see if it's worth trying to even make it yourself. Let's get it out of the box. Okay, so just for information, the product code is CT138G. I think the 138 signifies how tall it is. Okay, let me get a knife, open this up. Now remember, don't use something long and sharp. It actually says on the top. Otherwise you might end up cutting into something. Right, let's get a knife. This one will do. Okay. Ow. Right, so the first thing I notice is there's so many parts. Now, just looking at that, if I was going to make it myself, all of these individual parts, I mean, these are all round, so I'd have to make lots of round things, which means lots of turning. Yes, I could have made it square, but that's not the same. Each of them are covered in material, so again, I'd have to buy the material. And these ones, for example, these are like scratch posts, so I'd have to buy the fur and the rope as well, and enough rope to go round. Yeah, lots of components. I've had a quick look at the instructions. Let me show you the instructions because they seem fairly clear. Right, so looking at the instructions here, I'll try and look at it from behind the camera. Okay, adult assembly required. Okay, this is cat tree assembly instructions. This is basically what it's going to look like, hopefully. First page, there's some warnings about 2 people are required. So that's me stuff to start with, because obviously there's only me. And it looks like you're supposed to be quite a muscular person to do this, but we'll make it up as we go along. Okay, there's small parts in here, so don't let your children eat it. And obviously it says about the stability, and make sure you don't put heavy things at the top. Okay, then it gives you a part list. Obviously I won't go through this on video, but I'll quickly check this to make sure I know what's in it. And then it's just like any other assembly. It seems fairly clear. There's no words. It's all just pictures. But it looks like each individual picture, okay, identifies the components with letters. Let's get that in focus. Okay, so you've got your screws and bolts, and then each one of these is got a letter on it. So I, what's I? I suspect it's these ones. Okay, and it's got a little sticker on it that says I. Okay, so each one of those is one of those. That's fair enough. Okay, then a D. I think that's fairly obvious. That's this big fella here. Okay, so the instructions look like they're going to be fairly simple to follow. Let's have a look at the construction of it. Now it looks like it's made out of chipboard, okay, which is not very expensive, but Obviously, if I was going to buy it myself, you've got to buy a whole sheet of this, which then works out expensive because you've got to go and get it. You've got to get it back home. Then you've got to cut it. In addition, you've got all sorts of fixings like this. So you'd have to buy those. Okay. Obviously, holes have got to be drilled in the right place. Now, the covering is like a fur, okay, which is very soft. Okay. It's like this faux fur stuff. Now, it feels like it's just stapled, okay, along the edges here. Yeah, it's just stapled with fairly big staples, but it's not actually stuck to the board, okay. But that should be enough. Hopefully the cats won't destroy it. And as I say, all these small round things, this looks more like, yeah, this is actually made of cardboard. Okay, so they've got cardboard tube, but again, it's got special fittings and plastic inserts. So I'd have to make those all out of wood, which would make it a bit more tricky. Okay, again, this is a 6, or is it a 9? We'll see when we get to the instructions. You've got a piece of braiding here. I don't know what it's for yet. I'll have to look in the instructions. You get a bag of bolts, which are all Allen bolts. There's a couple of threads here, and an Allen key. Now, with that Allen key, it might take forever to actually do it, so I'm probably going to use a drill driver. Okay, so that's the basic construction of it. We've got a few bobbly bits here for the cats to play with. And there should be 2 components, yeah. So again, looking at that, for me to make that, that's going to take quite a bit of time. I mean, it's not the best quality in the world, but by the time I'd made that, I would have had enough of it anyway. Okay, so that's obviously a little cat perch. So yeah, right, let's have a look through the instructions and start screwing it all together. Right, I seem to have stumbled at the first hurdle here. Obviously, I've checked through my components here. Which is the one we looked at a minute ago, there should be 8 of those, and I've only got 7. Now, I've looked everywhere else. I've even rewound the video to check to see if I dropped it on the floor. I dropped some on the floor, but I picked them all up. But I do seem to have an extra one of these. But the problem is they're a different size. So what I'm going to have to do is start assembling it. In theory, I should put it all back in the box and send it back and all that sort of stuff, but I ain't going to bother with that. So I'm going to start assembling it. So I may have to make myself a little thing like this. Okay, but let's get a move on and get some of this assembled. Sorry to interrupt, but this is Future Frank here. I'm just editing this video. Now, I contacted Amazon regarding the missing component, and they've immediately contacted, Oaklands Technologies. Now, these are the people that obviously sell this cat tree. Now, James from Oakland Technologies has basically replied to me instantly and said that they don't have spare parts, but what they can offer me is a full refund if I send the component back, or a replacement if I send the component back, or a value money to send me to replace it. Okay, they don't actually keep any parts there, but the customer service was really good. So because I've assembled it all, I'm not going to send it all back, but the customer service is great. They're going to send me a little bit of money back, and I can basically turn a new leg. Okay, so I just thought I'd interrupt there. So now go back to Frank of the past, who's going to carry on trying to put this thing together. Okay, the first little bit, that was a bit tricky actually, because what you've got to do is get the bolts through here, which is obviously covered in fur, okay, into the uprights. Okay, they do fit. Obviously the bolts go in here, so there's a little bit of a recess, so they do centralise. but actually getting it through the fur. So you're best off pushing it through the fur first and then trying to get these in to screw it in. Okay, the threads are quite coarse, so they do screw in. Okay, but this is my first bit. This is the bit with obviously one upright missing. What I should do now is tighten these up, because if you look, obviously this is exposed, but what I want to do is tighten it up and then just pull the fur around it so you can't really see it. Okay, that's the plan. Okay, right, we got another thing which is exactly the same, which is the next step. Okay, which is also like this. Okay, more of the same. Right, so that's this first bit done here with the two little houses. Obviously one of these is missing, I've got to sort it out later. Next bit is the base, with 3 uprights, which are the 25s, which are these fellas, okay, and one of them is a furry one, okay. So there should just literally be a case of 3 bolts through the bottom. How hard can that be? Let's just try it. Oh, no holes. There's a hole for that one. It's easy. No hole there. Oh, there's a hole there. Right, no hole there, so I'm going to have to cut a little bit of the material. Okay, the next part is this little ladder here onto the L-shaped platform. Okay, this obviously shows you it's being screwed from underneath. Okay, these are D's, so these are slightly smaller bolts. Okay, so that in theory should be these ones. 1, 2. Okay, that's that bit done. Right, next part is fairly obvious. Okay, the base we just made with the 3 uprights and the platform, L-shaped platform's got to go on top of that. And then the little house goes on top of that. Right, let's do that. Right. Right, so I haven't screwed this platform on yet because I went to lay it on like this. Of course, that was at slightly the wrong angle, okay, this little ladder, which meant that this had a big gap. So I pushed it down and this snapped off. Okay, and if you look, it's only chipboard, so it's pulled it out and destroyed it. So I've got to fix that somehow. That won't be a problem, but it's something I didn't want to be doing. Right, I'll leave the ladder until last. Right, this top platform here, what you do is you actually put these studs in, like this, tighten them down, and then they pass all the way through here. Okay, and then the next step is the little house goes on. This little house. With the bolt. The long one. Right, this bolt that goes in here, I made sure it actually went underneath the furry stuff, because obviously the cats are going to lay in here. You don't want them laying on a bolt. Not that it makes any difference because they're only cats. All right, what's next? Okay, so we're now here. We want a 38 here, which is this one, 38. That should just screw on here. And we want a 30 here. It's a 30. Goes in this one. Then on the top, we need a 6, which is one of the little dumpy fellas. One of these goes on the top. Right, the next bit is this little platform across the top here. So that's this piece, which has got 2 holes one end and 1 hole the other. Okay, and we've got to screw it like this. Okay, yeah, that's simple enough. Okay, the big house goes across the top onto those 2 little knobbly bits and this one here. Right, I'm now going to put this on the floor because obviously it's getting a bit tall. So let's move this over the here. Okay, again, the screws that are going through there, because that's where the cats are going to lay, I want to make sure the screws are underneath the felt material. All right, the next bit is this 40 and this 40, which are 2 long furry ones, and this 25 plus, which is a scratch pad with the thread out the top, and they obviously go in the top there. Okay, so now the last little bit, you've got the 3 platforms here, you've got the dished one right at the very top, and then the 2 normal discs on either side. Right, so that's most of it assembled now. I've just got to sort out these steps that actually broke off because the angle on the brackets is slightly wrong. Okay, so let me just figure that out. Shouldn't be too difficult. Yeah, it's furry. Right, now I've got this on its side, trying to sort out this little slopey step here. Now, obviously, this was mounted like this, okay, but these brackets are at the wrong angle. Okay, so once I pushed that up, they just ripped out. Okay, so you can see they've ripped out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it around this way, which should give me some fresh wood or chipboard to play with. I'm going to gently screw it in, and hopefully that will be man enough. Hopefully. I'll use the same screws because I can't afford to have sharp things sticking out because the cats will catch themselves. Right, let me get a screw. Right, so that's the little stairs sorted out now. Yeah, the angle of the brackets is just slightly too wrong. So if you do it in the order they say, when you actually assemble it, it's going to break off. I put 2 screws in it. The cats are not very heavy anyway. But yeah, that should be okay now. Now, finally, this little strip here, what's that for? Now, underneath the big house at the top here, there's a bolt hole, which you use just another bolt. A short one, Okay, that goes through here. That screws into here. Okay, you tighten that up, and then what happens is when you've got this against the wall, you actually screw this to the wall, and they give you a little raw plug and a screw and a big washer. Okay, I don't know where this is going to go at the moment, so what I'll do is I'll just leave this for now and then screw it in at a later date. Maybe the cats can play with this. Right, I think that's about it. Right, so this is quite a tall thing. Obviously I've got it standing on some boxes here and it's taller than me, but when it's on the floor, it's called the CT138G. Now, the 138 is actually the height from the base to the top of the highest platform. Okay, so that's what the 138 is. I think they do it in a slightly smaller size, but I think this one will suit us. Right, so could I have built it cheaper myself? The chances are no, because by the time you bought all this material, bought all the wood, bought all the fixings, you probably couldn't have made it for the same price. However, I probably would have chose slightly different material. I would have chosen MDF. The fixings and fittings, I probably would have used something slightly different just to make it a bit more sturdy. It's sturdy enough for the cats, but the actual construction is a little bit flimsy. It feels nice, okay, but I don't know how long this fur is going to last with the cat claws. You've got to consider as well that if you're making it yourself, it's going to take a lot of time. I mean, there's a lot of round things here. You could make them out of tube, but then you need the special fittings to fit them together. Okay, obviously you've got to turn some circles, you've got to make some boxes. So it all takes time. So for me, for the price I paid for this, here's where I got it from. I got it from Amazon. I think it was £41 or something. I'll put the price up here. Could I have made it for that? Probably not. If I could have made it, would I have made it better? Yes, I probably could have done. But basically, it's a cat tower. It's for the cats. It should be great. Right, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully I'm going to leave you with a shot with the cats on it. Thanks for watching. Bye.